Good afternoon, everybody. We are just now in the afternoon. We've just crept in to the PM, 12:05, and I'm delighted to welcome everyone to the stage to talk about the awards. This is something we started last year, and we're continuing to do. When we do the awards, everyone always asks after we've done the awards, what was the award for? And we know it's for champion, or we know it's for best private business, whatever it might be, but what was it for? What was actually it about? And so we thought, well, rather than not giving the opportunity or just having something written, we thought we'd actually give an opportunity for every organizations to actually present what they've done and what they've done since. So this is one of those sessions, and I'm delighted to welcome Campbell, who's going to chair us through this. Campbell and I have been on this journey around social value together with the task force and the steering committee for quite a while, Campbell. I don't know if it's 7, it feels like quite a while. But
got to be pushing a decade at this point.
It's got to be pushing a decade. Well, anyway, look, I'm going to leave you to it, Campbell, and let you have that conversation with everyone else. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I hope everyone can hear me. I hope everyone can sort of see me. For the first time in about a month, the sun has come out right at the moment where I need to kind of do something on camera. So you can see one side of me, but I hope everyone can hear me. And you really only have to hear me for a couple of moments, because this session is actually all about everybody else that you see on the screen. So as Guy mentioned, we're just really, really keen always to publicize the ongoing work of our winners. I think this is really important. It's something I don't see a lot of other kind of awards ceremonies doing this, really, really showcasing kind of what has happened to the people who won the year before. We've got just a brilliant range of experience for you for this session. Got 3 former winners, a couple of organizations here that have a real international scope, bringing it then back to leadership in public sector. So we've got a really good, rich range of experience. Great opportunity, as with all of these, to really just magpie ideas and approaches and what's worked, for other people. So we're going to go in turn. We're going to start with Ines, then we're going to go to Garrick, then we're going to go to Fiona. In each instance, I'm going to invite you guys to please introduce yourselves, remind everybody which award you won last year. Tell us what you're doing to still change the world. Try to throw in some war stories and some insights. Thankfully, we're going to do this without slides, so I hope that's going to feel like a lot more accessible and kind of fun just to engage with and listen to. And what we're going to do is we're going to stop after each speaker and just leave a window in case anyone wants to ask any specific questions on what they've just heard. And then at the end, if we have time, we'll kind of follow up and have a bit of a more collaborative conversation. But this is a showcase for each of you. For everyone who has joined us, thank you. Please, if you want to ask a question, use the Q&A. I'm going to keep an eye on the Q&A. If you've got a kind of practical question, stick it in, like, you're struggling with something, stick it in the chat. Tom, my colleague from SVP, will have a look. We'll keep an eye on the chat. But I'm going to keep an eye on the Q&A. So I hope that's all clear for everyone. Time for me to shut up. Ines, let's start with you. Really looking forward to hearing your story.
Thank you very much, Campbell, and thanks for everyone for joining. Slightly worried that Campbell just described this as more fun. I'm not sure how true that will be, but I'm Ines Murray, and I won the Social Value Champion Award last year. I'm a specialist in project management in the rail industry, and I've worked at BTTC for the last 6 years. And in the last 2 years, I've taken over corporate and social responsibility group lead. We're a high-performance infrastructure consultancy founded on the principle that rail projects can be delivered better through total collaboration, which goes from working with public sector clients such as Network Rail in the UK and also internationally in Canada and the US to help find benefits for delivering rail projects and to deliver them more efficiently. And that stems and flows into our desire to work for the communities that we serve, which is why social value is so important to us. BTTC is also up for the Global Excellence in Social Value Award tomorrow, up against Garrick. So wish him the best of luck, but not too much luck. And look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. So in social value is at the core of what BTTC does. In 2024, we delivered over 30% of our turnover in social value initiatives in both the UK and Canada. And some of the things that we did to do that was over 68% of our business engaged in job coaching with business in the community and also access employment in Canada, helping people find work who are currently unemployed, particularly those facing barriers to employment. So in Canada, we work with new to Canada immigrants to help them break down the barriers of the Canadian job market, which focuses very heavily on having specific Canadian experience as a must-have to start work at any level in Canada. So we've, as a British company who've all experienced this move to a new country, we've supported people to get into employment, which is so crucial for the Canadian economy. We also spent over £1 million with local SMEs in our supply chain, prioritising small businesses, local businesses, to deliver critical business functions as well as provide additional expertise in the projects that we deliver. We offset 94% of our carbon emissions through sustainable gold standard projects, which was working to deliver clean cook stoves in parts of Africa to reduce carbon emissions and also provide sustainable cooking methods. And then one of the big things that we did as well last year was we created an environmental sustainability program for employees, helping them reduce their carbon footprints and make our business more sustainable as well, with over 57% of our employees taking part. A big part of our global reach is working with Indigenous communities in Ontario and across Canada. It's unfortunate that as Brits on the call, we have moved around the world historically and unfortunately imposed our ways on a lot of the local people, which has left a history and a scarring in Canada. So we've been working with local communities and the Canadian Council for Indigenous Business to support reconciliation efforts. This is something that's become really, really passionate to me, understanding the history of what's gone on and also the amazing things that Canadian Indigenous people can bring. They have amazing culture, they have amazing food, amazing practices, and it's been really, really key to my time in Canada of understanding this and working out how we can become as one and work for the communities that we serve. The awards made a lot of difference to me and also to the company. The obvious ones are things like professional recognition. I met some amazing people last year and also through LinkedIn and networking to really build my network. And then on a company front, brand recognition has been really, really important to us. More and more we're seeing, particularly the next generation of talent coming through, that this is something that's important to people. Environmental practices, working with communities, supporting new people has become a real differentiator for our employment. We started an apprenticeship scheme this year, which has brought 3 people from underrepresented communities into our business in the UK, and all of them listed our social approach as one of the reasons they applied to us in the first place. Some of the challenges that we have seen, I found out at the awards last year that we were in the process of a merger with a large US and international firm. So we are no longer an SME, which has meant we've had to double down on our focus on finding SME partners to deliver targets and to deliver benefits to the community. And we also see, kind of linked to the presentation that I was part of earlier on, bringing clients along on the journey. PPN 002 is obviously a big step of that, but encouraging employers and clients to see the benefits of social value, apprenticeships, training and development is still key. And while it's a government focus now, it does need to filter on and bring clients on that journey. So where we're going next, we are looking at a per person a reduction of 10% of our carbon emissions in 2025. So not just offsetting, which is what we've done previously. We're now looking to reduce our emissions and tracking to a 50% reduction by 2030. We've introduced 2 bursaries of $25,000 in Canada, and particularly in Ontario, from engineering and project management students to support that reconciliation and help bring education levels up in disadvantaged communities. And also we've started working with the Design, Engineering and Construct programme, which is developed by Class of Your Own and brings skills to people at GCSE level and A level and help them understand what the rail industry and engineering can bring to their career. It's creating that pipeline of talent, not just at university level, which is probably too late, but getting people excited about working in this industry from a young age, which is really critical to social value and critical to the success of our industry and also our business going forward. That's kind of a summary of what I've been up to and what BTTC's been up to. So hand back to Campbell and anyone else who'd like to find out more.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Ines. If anybody has any questions, that was super comprehensive, and we haven't seen any questions come through. So if anyone has any questions, stick them up now. We've had some lovely emoticons kind of coming out, recognizing the value of some of the things that you've been saying. So thank you for that engagement from people. I mean, look, for me, people have heard me bang on for several years at this event now about the importance of collaboration, indeed radical collaboration, some really good examples of what you're doing, but also I have to flag your name, which the acronym is Better Through Total Collaboration, which I love. I kind of would like, I'd almost sort of stick that like up front every time. I just think it's brilliant. It's right there in the name. I think there was a really interesting observation in the panel this morning on business. There was a bit of dialogue in that around how firms that have a kind of global or an international footprint, how do you make sure that you're having really meaningful local impact whilst kind of you're having this infrastructure that sits up here? And I thought you illustrated that really well. I thought kind of some of the stuff you're doing is really powerful. We've got a couple of questions coming through now. Laura's asking, what were some of the biggest barriers or challenges that you faced when starting, social value kind of impact education linked programs in your organization? Now that she sounds like she wants us to ask that of everyone, but Ines, why don't you just have a crack at that initially?
So in 2022, we set out to create our 5-year business plan, which involved every single person in our organization saying what was important to them. And one of the overarching themes from almost everyone was that we wanted to have objectives and measurement of success related to social value. So in terms of barriers or challenges, there wasn't any in terms of getting started, because it was overwhelming how much our employees wanted this to be a thing, and our leaders supported that. I did, however, whenever we were presenting progress on this, was always put on last, to present to the company. It took its time to become more than just a nice to have, and to make it, you know, really core to our business. But the results that we've seen, the buy-in from our employees has really shown how important it is, and I'm now kind of front and center on a lot of these presentations to the rest of the business. So maybe getting buy-in and making it less of a nice to have or a window dressing thing, and making it core.
Thanks. Got a few more, and I'm going to just bundle these in us so you can kind of address them, you know, as you see best. So Leo's asking, look, you know, kind of, is there a social value initiative that you are, you know, kind of proudest of? But Africa asking, you know, more about how did you get that level of engagement with your sort of personal emissions reduction program? I'm going to leave you with those two. And then we're going to come on to a specific question about engaging with local schools. And then we're going to leave it, and then we're going to move on to Garrick, and then we can kind of come back to questions at the end if we want.
So personally, the biggest thing for me was that we received partnership accreditation with Indigenous communities last year. The PAIR program, which is us showing that we are committed to working with Indigenous communities. This was a thing I knew nothing about before I moved to Canada, and it became my personal mission for us, partly driven by clients asking for how we work with Indigenous communities. It's a very hot topic in Canada, but being able to show that we are committed and working with some really, you know, working in an accreditation that's largely taken by massive international firms like EY or KPMG, and being a company of 10 people in Canada, being on a level with them was really, really rewarding for me.
That's excellent. Thanks. So I'm conscious of time. I'm going to just quickly remind, for anyone who missed it at the start, if you're listening and you have a question, please stick it in Q&A, because then people can kind of mark it and it'll bounce up just so I can see popularity of questions and so on. I'm only saying that because there's one question ended up in the chat. I will come back on these. And actually, because I don't want to disadvantage other speakers, I am going to bring us back on these questions about how do you drive engagement? How do you, you know, in terms of with things like personal emissions, the programs that require direct action by colleagues. So we'll come back on that one across all three of you. We'll also come back on this point about engaging with local institutions, including schools, because I suspect again that that's kind of common. And again, I'll ask you if we've got time about this measuring impact related to accessibility questions. So I'm going to come back to those. They're noted. Garrick, let's come to you. Let's hear what you've been up to. Please remind everybody which award you ran, as well as where you're from, or you won, sorry, and where you're from, and tell us what you've been up to.
Hi all. Thank you, Campbell. Nice to be here. My name is Garrick Lau, and currently the head of sustainability and shared value of a company called Fung Group, which was started in Hong Kong in the 1950s as a textile manufacturer, and eventually we got into real estate. Now builds and operates buildings mostly in Hong Kong, some in Shanghai, and recently we expand to London and also Boston. And we have won the Making Core Award in last year's ceremony, and we're happy to be here to again this year, and hopefully meeting Ines and being shortlisted on the same award. Good luck to all of us tomorrow. And actually, I would like to start by posing a question to everyone here. Imagine there is a no social value act, and there are no social value task force and home system, and there are no open social data source or financial proxies data bank. How would the appetite and the friction of measuring social value would be like today if without these? And that's the reality of the region that our company is operating in right now. So we, as a family-owned private company with a concentration of financing from our own major shareholders, we started off learning about social value like 3 to 4 years ago, not really having in mind any noble reason or vision to a systematic change, but rather we started being asked internally about how effective our social investments have been, just like any other projects that needs ongoing budgets that would be asked to justify the budgets from time to time. Then step by step, we learn about different impact measurement approaches, conduct staff trainings, identify pilot programs to measure, create new workflows to capture now around 50 social programs throughout the company, and becoming the first Hong Kong company to disclose a consolidated social value figure throughout the group in our sustainability report. And of course, they had the privilege to receive the Making Core Award last year's at the ceremony. And after receiving the award, we feel we have gathered the foundation to further integrate and create value to our operations. And there are a few things we have done. First, we have set a social value target for the group up to 2030 and use the yearly targets to be one of the KPIs that we use in our sustainability-linked financing, which means when we achieve certain social value yearly targets, we can get bank loan interest rebates, which amounts to millions. And it's also the first company in Asia to be able to do that. And secondly, we create a new add-on social value consultancy service to our clients, our commercial tenants, which can either be on social value measurement or impact strategy advisory, fundraising advisory, or social program curation and implementation, etc. These social value services, alongside with our other sustainability-related add-on services, is becoming a point of differentiation when we compete with other landlords, and at the same time bring in additional revenue. Third thing we've done, and the most recent and important one, we have the chance to be a part of the Social Value Global Task Force as one of the founding members. And together with many experienced and passionate organizations, help advocate the adoption of social value beyond UK, especially to Asia, where we are at least, I think, 10 years behind in terms of the mindset and skill set and the data infrastructure in terms of measuring social value. And these are progress so far, but if I can share two more ideas, more personal ones, to anyone who are same as me, just started to drive social values in their companies, I got two ideas to share. The first one is what I call impact in disguise. Impact in disguise. And because now the corporate sustainability and the ESG sentiment are very polarized and shaky, if we want to continue to deploy companies' resources to create impact, we cannot just argue business must do good or because these are the right thing to do, because half of the room would get up and say, but our bottom line is still red, but we are laying off people. So making money may not be the sole purpose of the company, but it's the oxygen. And if we want business operations to think more social values, we as the social value advocates, we also need to think more about business value. It's a two-way street. That means finding and matching the business materiality, whether it's improving products and services or saving costs or improve efficiency. These are the route that we need to take right now. The second idea is also a recent personal experience of me. I started work 20 years ago, same as many new trainees in a company, newbie joining the company. I took part in the volunteer activities to meet people, to show commitment. Back then, a very devoted lady was the leader of the volunteer team. She was very kind, took care of many of us, and so we maintained contact throughout the years, even if I changed jobs. So fast forward 20 years later, she is still in the same role. And as my team started to advise others on impact, I met with her and tried to share what we are up to. And after the 30 minutes of sharing, when I felt very proud to show how these thinkings can help her bring impact to another stage, her first response to me was, with a look of concern, asking me, if we use these methods to measure, would our projects be suspended? And I went into complete shock and not able to respond because I took it for granted for people directly delivering social programs to be excited to learn about effectiveness and scale up their influence. But I was mistaken. Just like not every one of us would like to go for body checks. But to me, the point is, I know this devoted lady for 20 years. I witnessed she has impacted a lot of lives. And there are many who are like her in organizations. We cannot afford to demotivate them or losing them in the development of social values. And we need to put extra effort in building the psychological safety for these core contributors before we are able to move forward. And I've glad to have shared the above, and I actually call out for action if any of the Asian company executives are also joining, listening, and to this community. We are super glad to get connected and help to drive advocate for social value in Asia, and help each other to be more productive, be more resilient, and be kind. Thank you.
Garrick, that was fantastic. Thank you. Really, really love that. The Global Task Force is a great thing. It's a wonderful initiative. So pleased that you're sat in the heart of it. And to add to your kind of call to action, if there are any organizations who are kind of have their footprint, primarily headquartered overseas, they want to kind of be a part of that kind of task force movement, then, do please get in touch. It's really, really important. I got to call out. I love I love your impact in disguise, right? I'm running a session at our live event tomorrow on the kind of evolving role of business in delivering. So I know this is going to come up, right? Like the backlash, the politics, how has it affected colleagues sat in businesses? How do you navigate that? Impact in disguise is as good a name for it as I've heard, right? So, I think that's absolutely on point. Absolutely brilliant. Right. Do we have any questions coming through just for Garrick? I haven't got any come through at the minute, Garrick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Fiona speak because I've got a couple of questions. Teresa, to reassure you, there's no way your question isn't going to be asked. I've got it in 3 places now, so like it's 100% going to be asked. But I'm going to let Fiona speak just to make sure she has some really good airtime, and then we're going to come back round. So do keep posting questions as they occur to you, everybody. Garrick, thank you so much. Fiona, let's come to you. Introduce yourself, remind us of your award, and tell us what's happened.
Okay, thanks so much, Campbell, and hi to everyone on the session. So I'm Fiona Broni. I am the Social Value Impact Lead at the local authority, London Borough of Waltham Forest. And last year, Waltham Forest was really honoured to have won the Public Sector Leadership Award. It was a really proud moment for us. It was a recognition in our approach to social value that's making a difference for our residents, our communities, and our businesses. 12 months later, the challenge has really been how to build on that recognition, how to keep the momentum, and how to make sure that for us, social value continues to be more than a policy or more than a line in a contract. We've worked really hard to make social value a component that runs through everything that we do within our organisation and with our suppliers. And we're really proud of the recognition that our social value delivery has had within Waltham Forest and with wider communities as well. Waltham Forest communities are facing the same pressures as all communities are facing at the moment. The cost of living crisis has deepened inequalities, health disparities are widening, and the climate emergency is being felt in our borough, as well as London-wide, countrywide. And at the same time, our public resources are stretched to their absolute limit, and capacity is extremely limited. So for us, that's why social value is incredibly essential. It's one of the most powerful levers we have to deliver better outcomes for our communities with the resources that we already hold. So since launching our dedicated social value function in late 2020, early 2021, Waltham Forest has delivered more than 55 million in measurable social value outcomes. And the last year has made up about 9 million of that number. And those numbers for us represent, yes, really ambitious work, but at the same time, incredibly achievable work. I want to, as I talk, kind of highlight a few of the stories behind those numbers that we've substantiated, and depict some of the progress that we've made in the last kind of 2 years. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about embedding social value across procurement. We've tracked outcomes over 70 projects, making sure every contract contributes to the wider community benefit. So this includes a diverse range of outputs, including SME support, work with the wider community, placements, employment, and investment into health and wellbeing initiatives. These aren't mandated. No measures are mandated on suppliers. They are all to be within the capability and attainment of any relevant supplier. And that's key for us because, at the end of the day, we're making sure that what's being promised is being delivered. We've grown from kind of obligatory compliance of the contract to much more of a collaborative partnership. Our suppliers aren't just managing and meeting contract requirements, they're co-designing solutions with us. Over 70% of our active suppliers are delivering social value commitments that go beyond their contract minimums, and they are actively approaching us now with saying things like, we want to do more, what more can we do together? Social value is becoming core. The shift has definitely changed the tone of our partnerships. It's never ever been a tick box exercise on our side of things, but I think some suppliers and contractors have come to us under that disillusion that that's what social value is, but we very quickly disabuse them of that kind of thoughts process, and with our engagement we enlighten them to recognize that it's about shaping outcomes together. It's about delivering tangible benefits for the residents in the community and the local economy. And that comes, I think, from building strong partnerships with our suppliers. And we can only do that through active contract management, performance management, and consistent, dedicated social value reporting. Another example for us was connecting people with opportunities. So one we are particularly proud of at the moment that we're working on is the temporary accommodation employment pilot. So we know residents in temporary housing are facing huge barriers to work. So through social value outcomes, we've brought together a local SME, outreach support design, and we've kind of shaped something new. A program that supports TA residents through personalised interventions and supported pathways and training. So residents who face instability at home and thought it unachievable to have a consistent approach to work have been successfully supported into sustainable employment. We've had direct feedback from these residents thinking that they never thought that this was going to be possible for them. But just working with somebody, being able to be supported directly one-on-one with someone has emboldened their confidence and has given them almost the authority and the autonomy to kind of take that steer on their lives when other kind of aspects, I guess, are a little bit shaky. So another example which has greatly benefited the lives of our residents is a program called Door to Store. When funding for the charity Waltham Forest Community Transport ran out, our supplier Vistry Group stepped in to support the charity and the initiative. So Door to Store is a free accessible transport program for the elderly and disabled residents of Waltham Forest and their carers. It's a really, really simple initiative. Everyone has to go to the shops, everybody has to go to the GP, everyone has kind of chores to do, but it's really been very powerful. It's reduced isolation, it's helped people remain independent, it's kept them connected to their communities, and it's kind of ingrained them into social groups, which they may not have had, kind of if they just kind of led their lives with being left to their own devices. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful program, and we've had amazing feedback from the residents themselves on how much it's touched their lives and brightened up their lives. So the numbers obviously matter, and we do pride ourselves at Waltham Forest. We are meticulous with reporting. We use the social value portal to report and track and monitor, and that's all detailed, evidence-based data. It shows accountability and it shows scale. But for us, it's the stories that remind us why social value works. Residents from disadvantaged or minority groups are properly represented in employment programs. They're receiving tailored employment support. Volunteering from our suppliers Canon at our local dementia hub, they have transformed an unutilized outside space into a peaceful and restorative garden for the dementia sufferers and their carers as well. Project Centre have created rain gardens with Henry Maynard primary school children, teaching them about climate change and at the same time reducing flooding, like just these kind of practicalities mirrored with the sensibility of doing good and doing more for your communities are all having a major impact, and we're seeing the results directly, not only through data but through the narrative that we're getting from our residents. We recognise that leadership in social value is not about having all of the answers. So it's about creating conditions where others, our suppliers, our residents, and our community organisations can have a voice and a platform to be heard. It's about being honest about challenges, absolutely, and whether that's tight budgets or supply capacity, the complexities of delivery. But from those challenges, we've seen sparks of creativity, innovation, and above all, collaboration. It's really vital that we kind of work together and we strengthen these partnerships through that kind of accessibility, through working together, through collaboration. Really, it's the underpin of our social value delivery. Another kind of underpinning of our social value delivery is definitely the strategic influence that we have. So we've moved social value from being just a procurement conversation. It's definitely now a whole council-wide principle. Departments beyond commissioning are now asking, how can this deliver social value? And we're constantly working on communication pieces to break silos and deliver effective, impactful social value organisation-wide. And that definitely comes from the steer of our senior leadership. They're really driving this agenda, and that's been a really powerful mindset shift. In the very beginning, in the instigation of the function, it was definitely a challenge and educational piece to teach people about social value and what it can do and what it means and how it can affect people. And since that kind of direct steer from our senior leadership, we've seen that ripple effect, that shared learning is distilled throughout the organisation and again through wider communities. So we're kind of hoping that we're allowing a model of what social value can look like. We're a relatively small borough, but our impact has been kind of huge so far. So hopefully that's exactly what leadership should look like in this space. Hopefully we're displaying what can be achieved in a relatively short time by a relatively small organisation. So that brings me to what we're hoping for over the next 12 months. We are absolutely looking to scale up what works, so expanding on successful pilots like our TA employment model, and rolling it out and embedding it as a program, so it is hand in hand with those housing needs. That support is there, it's tailored, and it's consistent for our residents. We want to expand on how we measure social value, so include long-term impact. We are going to utilise much more. We have a local needs analysis tool, so we want to delve deeper into socio-economic data and link and map the changes and area-specific needs that are matched with interventions to measure health equity and long-term well-being, and obviously influenced by crime prevention and sustained opportunities for our residents. we will continue to build on our collective leadership. So social value is not the job of one team, it's not the job of one department. It's a shared responsibility across all of our stakeholders. It's really everybody's business. And that will be supported by strengthening our partnerships, because social value is absolutely best when it's co-owned. So there's no one onus on us, the local authority, and no one onus on our suppliers. We are collaborating, we're working together to be as effective as possible. And what we will always do is keep people at the centre. So social value is not an abstract. We've never seen it as that. We've never seen it as a theory. It's a practical, it's lived, it's experience, it's improving lives, it's creating opportunities. And it's for everyone, but especially those that are most in need, benefiting in what is delivered from the resources that we have as a local authority. So yeah, that's, I think, about it from me. I'm going to pass back to you, Campbell. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the understatements of the event so far. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, that's just yeah, it's outstanding and astounding, Fiona. It's absolutely brilliant. It's on point. Some fantastic examples, just really granular, kind of examples there for people to get their teeth into. Can see people in the chat kind of engaging on that level. Some really important themes though, right? So I think I think from all of you we've heard a version of just the criticality of kind of leadership buy-in on this. You starting out in a place, right? We hear these stories from you guys as the the leaders, the inspiration in the first instance within the organization, and then actually what we're hearing is 2 years, 4 years in, 5 years in, look at where you are now, and look at, you've won the argument essentially internally. And Garrick, I hear your point. You've got to keep making it, right? Your point about making it material to business outcomes. Yeah, love that. Kind of for businesses, yes, and for kind of third sector providers, funding the incomes that are coming in. That's the oxygen that allows you to operate. But when in that case internally getting leadership to drive it out into each area of where the organization operates, that was the ambition that Guy and I really tried to set in the delivering a social value economy paper that we published a couple of years ago. And it's just fantastic to hear that. So really, really powerful stuff. Right, I want to do some justice now to questions. And in terms of kind of bucketing these questions into sort of some groups, we've got a little over kind of 10 minutes to get through some of these. So I'm gonna start with May. I'm gonna start with Teresa's question because she was asking something quite specific about whether or not, and if so, kind of how do you capture impact related to what you might do within your organizations for colleagues and people with disabilities? Is that something you capture? Is that something you're able to measure? And Ines, we're going to start with you because you'll have seen it. I think there's this very specific question which within this, which is around passenger assists. And whether or not within the rail industry you kind of feel like that might be measurable in some way as a part of your kind of broader social impact. So let's start with that. Let's start with you, Ines, if that's okay.
Yeah, so BTTC is a project delivery consultancy. So we don't work in operations. We don't work with train operating companies specifically. But I do think that passenger assists and accessibility on the railway is definitely something that can be measured with social value. I think it's a real driver that passenger accessibility is fundamental to railways. It is what they are there for. It is making travel more efficient, more sustainable, and that should be for everyone. Network Rail and train operating companies miss out on £40 billion per year from the purple pound, which is passengers with disabilities, and making stations and travel more accessible. I think if you look at people such as Tanni Gray-Thompson on social media and the battles that she has to make train travel accessible is shocking in this day and age, and showing how that can be righted and made more accessible for people is the ultimate goal of the rail industry. In terms of what we do for our staff, we measure accessibility through Great Place to Work surveys, through reporting of issues and improvements in our offices through QR codes, and having a specific team set up to look at disability confidence from the UK government, and how we can make our offices and our services more accessible.
Thanks, Ines. Fiona, Garrick, is there anything that you guys want to come in on this? We've got a few questions to get through, so don't feel you have to.
Just for us, we absolutely do measure kind of interventions for disabilities. It's something that we promote when we talk to our suppliers. We are part of the Disability Charter as social value, as a team in the organisation, and we regularly encourage suppliers to come in as well and talk to us as an organisation on things like mental health, disability, accessibility. It's something we, in the last year, I think, have focused more on. It's obviously been something that has been prioritised for us for a while, but social value intervention wise, we are really pushing to have that recognition for disabilities, and to make sure that it's not exclusive. The workplace, we find it paramount that our suppliers are fully aware of what they can do as employers and how they can support, and we capture that, we report on that as well. So it is something we're working on.
Thank you, Fiona.
I just add on very quick one. We also work with our donee to try use social return on investment (SRI) to measure the employability related for our in need groups. And also we for our market, we find that there is a lack of the job skills special needs matching with the specific requirement of say for office work. For example, maybe if we are working with a organization to deduce they need to design the levels of, say, if the person can focus at the desk without reminder for 15 minutes or 30 minutes or 1 hour, that would enable him to be fit into different types of office roles. So there are different types of specific linking the strength to the job needs that needs to be more structured, so that the employers and the people who are finding job with special needs can have a more smooth matching. So I'm not sure in UK, but in Hong Kong these are lacking. So we are helping these companies to design these type of to help the job matching part.
Thank you, Garrick. That's helpful. Yeah. Right, we've got about 6 or 7 minutes left. The question that is sort of most popular, if you like, that people have really come behind, is one around engagement. Now, we've got a number of kind of engagement questions, some external facing, some internal facing. We'll start with this external facing. We had an earlier question which was about engagement with local schools, but there's a later question which a lot of people have said they would really love, which is to responding initially to you, Fiona, I think, and understanding that engagement with suppliers. And you use the expression co-design, which is fantastic. I think you were really powerful on this point. There's not a tick box exercise. You make that really clear. And so how that engagement dialogue happens, I think you'll all have a perspective on this. Let's start with you, Fiona. But that it's so powerful, and that's where the innovation comes from, right? And just to reinforce a point you made, metrics are great. The pure data is great, but you can't tell people about an innovation without telling a story, so they can pick it up and say, we understand, and how could we design our own? So please tell us about that co-design, which side of the contract it happens, and so on.
Yeah, so we get involved very, very early on. We're obviously involved in procurement stage, but as soon as we move into contract management, we are brought in immediately. So we can have that dialogue with our suppliers to talk about, okay, what are the obligations that you've committed initially, but what's the kind of the ethos? How can we align? How are our missions aligned to your missions? And what can we kind of drive out of these targets that you've already kind of accredited to yourself? But more than that, what does social value look like to you as a supplier? How do you feel you could deliver best with us? So we have those conversations at the very inception of the contract, and as well as, like I said, we have the targets, we have the commitments, as well as delivering those. It's so often that we hear about whole manner of things that suppliers are additionally delivering. It's not just the target. Some of the realization is not even that they're delivering additional social value. It's coming from that conversation, from that engagement piece, that we can then kind of educate them. Actually, this is incredible. This is social value. You've delivered it somewhere over here. How about bringing it to Waltham Forest? Is that something that you're capable of doing? How can we support in instigating that here? Because there's incredible stories, just as you say, Campbell, when we talk to them, when we're sitting down on a level and hearing about their outputs, hearing about their outcomes, that we then discover more that we can implement in Waltham Forest. So the engagement piece really comes from coming together, literally bringing our ideas to our suppliers, and our suppliers having the authority and having the space to bring their ideas to us. So we're not just kind of flogging, we're not just saying, what's been done, how have you done it, like make sure you're reporting. That is part of the contract management, part of performance management. But at the same time, there's absolutely space to be creative. So when we're looking at things like, okay, we want to have a crime prevention measure. What does that look like? What could that possibly be? And our suppliers are saying, well, our expertise lie in things like CCTV operations, or we have a relationship with part of the suppliers that are working in an area that is possibly under like it's not, excuse me, it's like suffering from antisocial behavior, and we can perhaps install lighting there because that's our expertise. Like having those conversations with suppliers and working with what they know best, what their capabilities are and what they can do, has really brought around that innovation piece. I think it comes from understanding what they're better at. We don't know, we haven't got all the answers. So what they know, they can teach us and they can bring with them as they work with us.
Fiona, that's brilliant. I'm conscious of our time, and I'm gonna, Garrick, I see you with your hand up, so just give me 1 second, because I'm gonna kind of give us a chance to close, and I'm actually going to come to you. So just to acknowledge, John, I know you have a question in there about how you fully recognize the kind of core impact of VCSEs. I think that's guys posted in the chat that there's a session kind of dedicated where you can kind of raise that. So I'm really sorry we haven't got to that. I also know that for you and for Anna, you had a question about schools. If you want to engage with Fiona, are you with us tomorrow in the room? Are you
Absolutely.
Coming to Birmingham? Yes. Great,
yes,
fantastic.
So look,
so guys, if you're there, get in touch with Fiona and ask her about kind of how the local schools engagement. Find Ines, talk about that local schools engagement piece. Africa, I'm afraid we haven't done justice to the kind of engaging colleagues piece. Forgive me. But look, there's a popular question here, Garrick, around kind of how do we learn from what you're doing in Hong Kong? I think it's really interesting, just this sharing best practice. And I've got one for Guy as well. There's going to be some incredible insights coming through that global task force. How do we share that back into the kind of UK task force? I think it's a great question.
Yeah, so can I just chip in for this question? Very quick one in this time. One thing I would like to share, maybe less common, is when we have tried to having a social value number, we understand it's just a financial proxy, it's not a real pound or dollar, but it it gives us a token or a sort of a conversion mechanism that when we engage our clients, our tenants, we have our tenant engagement program, which almost like a CRM that you guys, everyone, we go shopping or things. There are points, there are loyalty rewards, benefits, and in terms of tenant engagement, you also have those. And now we have these social value proxies. There is a room for us to structure more understandable and easily converted rewards like management fee rebates, like other free facilities, freebies for our tenants when they start measuring social value and when they deliver social value. And then we can use this as a nudge for them to start working with us, even if they are not totally investing the time to start this mechanism. But it's like a gamification, and then this gamification is used for social value, used for good, and then it helps us a lot in the past 6 to 9 months. How we can just build on our usual commercial practices to change customer behavior to steer towards a social value. And happy to share more details with anyone tomorrow at the conference.
Thank you, Garrick. That's brilliant. I have overrun us by a minute. It's terrible chairing by me. We haven't done justice to everybody's questions, but I do just want to take a beat to say just a huge, huge thank you to Ines, to Garrick, to Fiona. Thank you for your stories. Thank you for your energy and your effort and everything you're doing in this space. It's wonderful. You are to be applauded and lauded. And look, thank you so much. Do please follow up directly with them if your questions weren't answered. And thank you everybody for joining us today. Really grateful and hope to see you in person tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Campbell.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.